What's up guys, it's Tony from Streetball Strategies, where we use strategy to build your streetball legacy. Today, it is winter outside. I know you guys can't really see it, but about 2 weeks ago, we got a major snowstorm and it's only the end of November. And so winter is here. Thankfully, the temperatures have evened out and now it's in the low 40s and most of the snow has melted, but it is still cold, which means it is coming to an end where I can no longer come out here on the court and record for you guys unless we get extremely lucky and the weather stays decent. But that brings me to the series that we're starting today, which is winter as a weapon. How to use winter as a weapon. Because when this time of year comes around for most street ballers who live in parts of the world where winter is a thing, which sucks, when that happens, there is the potential for us to get lazy and to go inside and sort of hibernate and let our street ball skills and potential and progression sort of become dormant, and we don't want that. That is bad times. So how do we stop that? Well, there are numerous things that we can do in the winter to better ourselves as basketball players, but today's topic is something that is very rarely discussed when it comes to street ball and or basketball, as far as I know. Even when it comes to sort of physical fitness, it's not even really talked about or discussed very much when you think it would be. One of the reasons is because it only recently has come to sort of the forefront of mainstream science when it comes to researching this and having studies and significant sort of data to give us evidence of how and why this is important. And I am speaking about sleep. Now, you may be asking yourself, or asking me, Tony, why is sleep so important when it comes to being a better street ball player? Well, it's because sleep is restorative, it is healing, right? So you've just spent the last 6-7 months on the court. You've been playing as hard as you can, practicing as hard as you can, putting out as much effort as you can, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. You've been pushing yourself to your limits on a regular basis over the last 6 or 7 months. Now, winter's setting in and you're not going to be able to be out here as often or as frequently as you would like. You may not even be able to be out here at all. And if you play indoors, maybe you get in a handful of games, a handful of days in a gymnasium during the winter. The point being that you're not going to be able to be putting yourself through basketball motion, basketball physical actions for the next few months. So without becoming lazy, the winter is your time to recover from last season and prepare for next season. Just a quick side note, when I talk about seasons as a basketball or street ball player, I always compare it to the NBA season, right? So the NBA season has preseason, regular season, and playoffs, and off season. As a street ball player, I look at our season the same, and because I live in an area where winter happens, I consider preseason as March and April, because that's when the weather begins to break and then you can start to get out here on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And then regular season is May through October, and playoffs are October and maybe November, depending on the weather, because in October and November, when the weather starts to break down again and it starts to become an obstacle, that's when you'll see fewer and fewer players out here really putting in work, because they've spent the summer playing basketball, they got used to the nice weather, and now it's starting to get cold and they don't want to be out here anymore. And it sucks when it starts to get cold, and the fewer the players out here, because of that, the players that you do see out here are usually hardcore streetball players, and that's why I consider October and November to be the playoffs when it comes to streetball. And then the off season is November through February. The off season exists in streetball because of winter, but it should not be considered a period of laziness or stagnation or just pure sort of relaxation. We make use of the winter to better ourselves, even without being on the court on a regular basis, by using winter as a weapon. And one of the things we do is to work on our sleep during the winter. So how does this actually work in terms of how do we get the best sleep possible? Well, let's start with going to sleep, falling asleep, right? A lot of the things that we do when it comes to streetball is to minimize the amount of distractions that we have so that we can focus on the goal we are trying to achieve. In terms of sleep, the goal is to fall asleep and stay asleep for the proper amount of time. So getting to sleep for a lot of people can be a problem because they don't know how to shut off their brain. The complaint being often that they lay down and they close their eyes, but their mind keeps going and thus they don't fall asleep. So to begin with, some of the things you can do to help yourself fall asleep is to turn off the screens. Get rid of the screens. I'm not telling you to stop the input into your brain. I'm not telling you to sort of meditate until you fall asleep. I'm just saying, number one, you're stimulating your brain during the time when you should be allowing yourself to get sleepy. And number two, screens throw off something called blue light. And blue light is it's a variant of light that enters your eyes, and what it does is it turns off the part of your brain that creates a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that signals to your brain it's bedtime, it's time to fall asleep, it's time to start our sleep cycle. So the less blue light you have coming into your eyes when you're trying to get ready for bed, the better. Cell phones and tablets have a setting where you can turn blue light off, which is nice. TVs don't really have that. The only thing you can do with the TV is sort of wear these special glasses that have lenses in them that are like tinted like reddish or pinkish or orangish, and that disrupts blue light from entering your eyesight. Now in terms of actual sleep, what science has taught us over the last few years is that sleep works in cycles. So when you fall asleep, you have cycles that your brain goes through in terms of levels of sleep. So you have light sleep, deep sleep, and rapid eye movement sleep. And that rapid eye movement sleep is what we're after. So how do we get that? Well, not every time you go through a sleep cycle will you experience rapid eye movement or dreaming, right? You won't get rapid eye movement every time you're in a sleep cycle. It depends where your brain is at, where your body is at, in terms of your fatigue and how it's going about healing itself. And so, that being said, since you don't get REM sleep in every sleep cycle, you want to give yourself as many sleep cycles as possible. Here's the deal. Sleep cycles last 90 minutes. So you want to have as many cycles of 90 minutes as possible. Ideally, the average person would get somewhere between 6 hours and 9 hours of sleep a night. You want to set yourself up to get either 6 hours of sleep or 7.5 hours of sleep or 9 hours of sleep, because those are denominations of 90 minutes. And the goal being that within that 6 to 9 hour range, you will get as much REM sleep as possible. You want to figure out how long it takes you to fall asleep, and then you want to factor that into what you're going to set your alarm for. And you're going to set your alarm for either 6 hours or 7.5 hours or 9 hours, depending on how long it takes you to fall asleep. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock and you know it takes you half an hour to fall asleep, so you take that half an hour, you factor that into how long you're going to be sleeping for. Technically, you're setting your alarm to go off 6 or 7.5 or 9 hours after 10:30 or from 10:30, so that you wake up at the very end or very beginning of a sleep cycle. When you wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle, that's why you feel sleepy and groggy and it's hard to get out of bed, because you woke up in the middle of a cycle where technically you should be sleeping, but you set your alarm to go off at a time that is incongruent with the beginning or an end of a sleep cycle. So you always want to try to set yourself up to be waking up at the very end or very beginning of a sleep cycle. And it's going to take time for you to sort of experiment with that, see how long it takes you to fall asleep, and then see which works best for you in terms of 6 hours or 7.5 or 9 hours. And then be consistent with that as much as you can. You want to go to bed at the same time every night. You want to get the same amount of sleep every night, and you want to wake up at the same time every morning, as often and as consistently as possible. You want to build that into your body and have your body know that that is what's normal for you, and that's the time that is designated by your brain to be your time of recovery and healing. So if you put that all together, that's how you get the best possible sleep. And with the best possible sleep comes the best opportunity for you to be productive, and productivity you have to go towards the other things you're going to need to do in order to get better out here, even though it'll be during the winter. Even if you're young and sleep is not a problem for you yet, you want to start as soon as possible to build these principles of sleep so that you can continue them as you get older, because as you get older and you have more wear and tear on your body, it's going to be harder for you to fall asleep, and sleeping itself is going to be more difficult. And the sooner you sort of lay down the foundation for good sleep now, the better you're going to be able to sleep in the future, and the better your longevity is going to end up being as a streetball player as you get older. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the ideas in this video, please hit that like button. I know that sleep is an obscure sort of topic when it comes to streetball, but I think if you really give it a shot and you really try to drill in on how to sleep best for you, and you really figure that out, you'll see that it is much more beneficial than you probably even more so than you imagined. So don't forget to hit that notification bell, guys, to get future videos in this series. There's about at least 4 months left in winter here in Michigan. It's just starting. So I don't want to leave winter as this stagnant period of time where nothing gets accomplished as a streetball player just because you're not actually out on the court. So there's going to be future videos in this series in the coming weeks of how to use winter as a weapon, and I don't want you guys to miss any of those. I want you guys to be able to use this time of year to really build on ancillary skills and techniques in terms of building up yourself as a basketball and streetball player. If done properly, winter can really be used as the most profitable time of growth as a streetball player. I know that sounds weird when you're not actually out here because it's winter, but if you do it right and you take the right approach, winter can be your best friend as a basketball player if you use it properly, and that's what this series of videos is about. So make sure you hit that bell so that you get notified of future videos, and make sure that you're subscribed as well so that you also don't miss anything that's coming up during the next few months that have to do with becoming a better player in the winter. But as usual, the most important thing you guys can do is to share this channel and share these videos. We need to build this community and bring as many people in as possible to see that there are videos like this that do exist, that sort of talk about the philosophy of streetball and why it's important, and why you should pay attention, and why you should take it seriously, and how you can use it to your advantage to get better as a streetball player. I've said it before, and I'm going to continue saying it, which is there's not videos out here like this on YouTube or on the internet that address the philosophy of streetball and why it's important and how you should think about it and how you should approach it from a mental perspective. If these videos are interesting at all to you, please share them with as many people as you can so that we can build up this community, because the more people that are involved, the more people that are interactive here, the more we can learn from each other. For example, please comment below and let me know what you think about sleeping in relation to being a basketball player, being a physical person, and how it can make you better and more productive. What you do in order to get a good night's sleep on a regular basis. There are plenty of people who have trouble sleeping who could use your input and your advice on how to get a better good night's sleep on a regular basis. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you, I don't know if I'll see you out here because it's cold, but I will see you next week. Bye, guys.
We East Champs, dog, did it right. Trust you wanna play, bring your ball and your nights, let's go.